Hello and welcome back to the channel. So glad that you could join me on today. We're going to talk about something that is a very hard topic to discuss, but it's a much needed topic because there is so much that is going on in the world today. A lot of people are dying. Younger people, more so than the older people, are passing away. And with that being said, this is something that sometimes you cannot prepare for. Even if you have a loved one that is terminal, that the doctors have given up on, and the doctors say, well, bring the family in, spend these last moments with your loved one, but just prepare for them to pass on. They can say that. They can give you months or weeks to live, and you understand the inevitable, but it doesn't affect you until that last breath is taken and that person is no more. I am someone who has had plenty of experience with death, not just from my loved ones, but the nature of my family's ministry. We've had to deal with a lot. So I think and I pray that the things that will be discussed here today can help someone along the way. And I believe that this is going to be a series of just different conversation pieces, because there are a lot of people that are hurting. There are a lot of people who don't know what to do in the event of losing a loved one. So just a little brief history about myself. I'll never forget for as long as I live. It was April the 6th, 1994. There was a store down the street from my house. I was 13 years old. My baby sister, she was 10 years old. And I didn't know. And I'm going to try to, because it's kind of hard, even revisiting the past. But I didn't know on April the 6th, 1994, that would be the last time that me and my sister would walk to the store together. This is something that we did almost on a daily basis. When we got home from school, we would always walk to the store. And I didn't know that that was going to be the last time that we were going to walk to the store together. So the next day, I had a recital at school, and we were supposed to have that concert that evening. So I was in the bed, resting, taking a nap after school. And all of a sudden, I heard the loudest scream I have ever heard my mom do. And when she screamed, I jumped up, only to run and find out where she was. Our living room door was open. I looked outside. There were cars everywhere. And my 10-year-old sister had gotten hit by a van as she was coming home from an after-school program. Went to the hospital. Well, she was in the hospital from the 7th, and on the 11th, I was staying with my grandparents. I actually stayed at the hospital pretty much the entire time, but went to my grandparents' house to shower and to just kind of get out of the hospital settings, because anyone who has a loved one that is in the hospital, you do not want to leave their side. So as I was at my grandparents' house, the phone rang, and my grandmother picked up the phone, and I believe it was my dad. And the only thing I remember my grandmother saying is, well, God knows what's best. And at that point, even at the age of 13 years old, I knew what that meant. And I ran outside. I was hysterical. I just couldn't believe that my partner, the person who I shared a room with for 12 years. We had just gotten our own room that year. But the person who I shared a room with for 12 years, the person who we had twin brass beds in our room, my best friend was suddenly just taken away from me. At a young age, trying to process, it was the hardest thing that I have ever, to this day, had to experience. She passed away on April the 11th. Matter of fact, my parents' anniversary is April 12th. On April the 13th, we buried my sister. And also, as we were coming down the steps of the church from funeralizing my sister, got a call that my grandmother, who was my great-grandmother, who was 102 years old, she passed away. So just within that short span of time, so much had happened, and I didn't know how to process. When you experience the death of a loved one, you are just basically existing. Food doesn't taste right. Your emotions are like waves of an ocean. They go very high, and then they may come down and calm. Then they go very high, and then they come back and calm down. And this is something that can take place for months, years, and actually when you lose someone that is so very close to you, that is something that you will never, ever heal from completely. It gets better with time, but the scar is still there. And even 30 years later, it still affects me. But the thing that helped me out the most during this time was I had a strong faith system. At the age of 13, I had a strong faith system. I never broke down in front of my parents. At this time, it was only my sister and myself that were the biological kids of my family, or of my parents. So I was left alone with just my parents and myself. My mother worked first shift. My father worked second shift. My father, very strong man, the strongest man that I know. He's just a strong man. Had never really seen him cry before. And I knew that my parents were going through so much that I did not want to burden them with my grief process. So I remember one night in the bed, or let me just rewind. So from the next few weeks after the passing of my sister, it was very difficult. We all were just floating. We weren't living at all. We were just existing, trying to cope, trying to understand, still trusting in God, not understanding why He decided to take her away. I would have much rather had died. My parents would have much rather died than to experience that type of hurt. It's undescribable. The type of hurt that we experienced through that time. So when I would get home from school, which was normally around 2:30, my father had to be at work at 4 o'clock, but he worked in a different city or a different town, so he would leave to go to work at about 3 o'clock, 3:15. He was out the door. So as I would come home off the bus during that time, I would just see him balled on the floor crying, and I was there to console him. My mom worked for the library. She would get off from work, and I would send my dad off to work, And I had that time to kind of like think and fester at home. My dad or my mom got off at 6 o'clock. And it was almost like she couldn't get in the door fast enough. She would just throw down her keys, throw down her pocketbook, and she would just start wailing. And I wanted to be there for my parents because I didn't want to be an extra burden on them. So a lot of that grief and a lot of that pain, they never saw me experience. It would always hit me in those quiet moments. And so with that being said, I can recall one night I was laying down and everybody thought I was asleep, but I wasn't. I was thinking about my sister, you know, how I was longing to be with her again, how I was hurting to the point where I didn't know what to do. And I remember one night laying in the bed and the moon was shining through the blinds, and I was crying. I didn't think I could make it through the next moment. I didn't think I could make it through the next second. That's how bad I was hurting. And this happened on several occasions, but this occasion I remember very well. And I remember the moon shining through the blinds. And I was like, God, please help me. Please help me. How am I going to live my life? You know, if I didn't know who God was, I would have easily taken my life. No question, no problem, because the pain, it hurt so very deeply that I didn't want to live. Literally, I did not want to live. But I knew that I didn't give myself my life, and I didn't have the right to take my life. That was the only thing. I was like, I don't want to feel like this and die and go to hell. I don't want to do that. So I remember laying in that bed and just crying and just crying and just crying. And no lie, with that moon shining in through the blinds, I felt someone rocking me. I felt someone rocking me. And the next thing you knew, it was morning time. I was able to go to sleep. There were many nights that I did not sleep, wanting to die, wanting to end it all, because it hurt so very deeply. As I grew up, teenage years and things of that nature, I turned to a lot of things. I remember, you know, there used to be alcoholics and crackheads and stuff at various stores and stuff, and I wasn't old enough to buy alcohol. But I remember, you know, giving them some money to get them a cold beer or something like that. And I would have them to go get me a bottle of wine. And I was consuming. I was smoking weed. Anything to numb the pain, you know, because it had been years later. It was years later. And I needed something to numb the pain. And so I tried all of these things, thinking that it was going to help me numb the pain. And it wasn't until I actually came to the conclusion that this is not helping me. This is not going to help me. And I now know that the purpose for me losing my sister at such a young age, God was preparing me for all of the great losses of people that I loved. He was preparing me for a life of goodbyes. Didn't understand it then. But now, reflecting over my life and having had lost so many people just within these last few years alone, I know now that the reason why I had to experience what I experienced at such a young age was preparing me for the other losses that I would experience in life. Nothing, and I love my people. I'm a family person. I'm a family person. But nothing has ripped me, torn me, beat me as that experience in 1994 with the death of my sister. I got plenty of obituaries to show you. I got plenty of videos to show you of people who I love passionately and who have died from 94 all the way up until, I thank God I haven't had to experience anything in 2024 yet. But last year was a year. The year before that and the year before that, I was losing them like that every week. And I said, Lord, like, why is so many people dying? And there's people that are, some of them are younger than me, my younger cousins. Why? And it was something that came to me and said, Kim, did I not prepare you? Did I not prepare you for what was to come? And I'm not going to keep this video long because I plan on doing a series of these because there are a lot of people hurting. But you can make it. Sometimes you're not going to feel like going on. Sometimes you can't breathe. The pain is so deep and it's so unbearable that you can't even breathe. You can't even gasp for breath. But know, whoever this may be going to, that this is not going to kill you. It may be the hardest thing that you will ever experience or have experienced, but it's not going to kill you. It's going to make you stronger than ever. You can't think that there is no hope, because the mere fact that you are still living and breathing, the mere fact that you still have the activities of your limbs, means that there's a purpose. And we have to start looking at death in a way that is abnormal. We all are on a journey. We all are in a race. And the race is not given to the swiftest, to the one who runs the fastest, nor to the strongest, the one who can lift the most weights. But it's to the one that can endure. That's the word, endure. That can take on the beatings, that can take on the hurt, that can take on the misery. Those who can endure, you're going to see why. Because you're going to be stronger than ever. I know you can't see it now. I know it's hard now. Since my sister, I lost my grandfather, I lost my grandmother. Me and her were best friends. I've lost cousins. Lost my brother last year. We can do it. You can get through it. It's not easy. There are certain songs that certain videos I can't even watch. Certain movies I can't even watch. It's hard for me to watch. And to this day, I can't watch any type of home videos that was done in the past where they're actually moving. I can see pictures all day. But when I actually start hearing them talk and I start hearing or seeing them move, it's hard. I can't do that. I can't do it. But know that this too will pass. And it's going to make you so strong. I know you don't see it and I know you don't feel it right now. But it's going to make you so strong. And you'll be able to conquer anything that comes your way. You will not take life for granted anymore if you did in the past. You will begin to realize that life is like a vapor, like my father always say. It's only a little while. It's only a little while. So regardless to if things are going your way in life, regardless if they're getting on your nerves at work, regardless if grocery prices are going up, regardless, no matter what's going on, after you have experienced a great loss, you will be able to say, this is small stuff. It'll just slide off your back, because nothing can affect you as that hurt of losing someone who you love more than you love yourself. As I said, this is going to be a continuational video. I'm going to come right back, but I just want to keep everything short and sweet. If you like this video, if you like this content, please like, share, and subscribe. And please leave your comments below. And I will see you in the next video. May God bless.